We're going to hop right into it. So when I watch the spring game, I don't usually look to see like your C.J. Strouds, your Jackson Smith and Jigbas, your Travion Hendersons, because you know what you're getting out of those guys, right? I was excited to see this defense. I was excited to see some of the younger guys step up, and that's what the biggest thing I take out of these spring games is when you pay attention to recruiting, you see these guys come in, you want to see how they're doing. You know, this is the end of spring. Spring is now over in Ohio for football-wise, of course, not weather. But this young talent on the Buckeyes roster really showed out this past weekend. And if you don't know the name already, Buckeye fans, you better get used to hearing it. It's Kai Stokes. Kid is an absolute baller. He was everywhere on the field. And you kind of see the momentum building up to the season. It's going to be hard for him to stay off the field. Coach has said he's had an amazing spring up to this point already. And we had another guy like that last year with Denzel Burke, who was one of our lowest rated recruits in the recruiting class, came in, worked his way up, had an amazing spring, ended up being the number one corner for the team last year. Kai Stokes is in a loaded safety room. There's 15 guys in that room on scholarship, but it is going to be very hard for him to stay off the field. He's got the fast twitch you like to see in a DB. He's around the ball. He'll come up and hit you. He really just lived in the moment last Saturday, and that's big to see for a young guy. Like Jim Knowles said, when you see these young guys, you want to see how they do when the lights are bright. You don't, you know what I mean when I say that, when he says that. Basically how you perform under pressure. There was only 60,000 fans there, but that's a lot of people. He's never probably played in front of that his entire life, and he didn't back down from the pressure. So I really like the way he got after it. Another guy talked about in a couple videos ago is Jordan Hancock. He is a 4-star corner out of Georgia. He had a couple plays in a row where he was really balling. He had a pass deflection, then he came up and made a tackle for a loss. Showed a lot of great signs. Jalen Johnson, he got some reps in there. Not too much out of him, had some tackles, but be looking for him to be another breakout candidate for this next season. Some guys like JT Tuimalau had a very good day. Jack Sawyer, we saw Jack Sawyer dropping into coverage a couple times, which is completely different from last year's defense. And Jim Knowles said this defense in the spring game was going to be a watered-down version of what they're going to run. Not a lot of blitz packages coming, but I think it is awesome to see Jack Sawyer dropping back in coverage because Jack Sawyer is a defensive end. He came in as a defensive end, but when you see a guy on the edge and he drops back in coverage, that messes with the quarterback's mind. You don't know if he's coming, you don't know if he's going to drop back, so on. Tanner Mcallister, another transfer from Oklahoma State, talked about him in a couple videos. I think his motor is very high. I think him, Ronnie Hickman, and Josh Proctor will hold down the safeties. But like I said, do not be surprised if Kai Stokes comes in and gets some playing time because it's going to be very hard to keep that kid off the field. And what's really interesting about the Kai Stokes situation is he was the second lowest rated recruit in this past recruiting class for the Buckeyes. So that really just shows you right there. Not only can he have the potential to be a huge steal for this team, but ratings don't matter when it comes to recruiting. All right, if you come in, you work, you're gonna get in. Whatever. So, it was a watered down version of the defense, like Jim Knowles said, but I saw a lot of great signs when it came to just energy. Last year, the Ohio State defense had no energy at all. They were playing with no passion, no swagger. And when I say that, they weren't confident in what they were doing. This defense this past Saturday, I know it's a spring game. You can only take so much from it. But you can tell when a team's playing more confident because they were flying around. They were coming up fast. They were doing everything 100%, and that just wasn't the case last year. And we've seen that with Michigan. We've seen that with Oregon. So many other games, the defense just did not look like one. But on Saturday, it looked like one. And even JT Tuimalau said they're coming with a different edge this season. So I think Jim Knowles is going to do great things for this Buckeye defense. I said it before. He's a great coach. He has those guys flying around right now. And can't be any more excited for that defense coming fall. We can get into some offensive guys. Like I said, you see your C.J. Strouds, you see your Jackson Smith, you see your Travion Henderson, you see those guys. Some guys that stood out to me, Evan Pryor, he's a redshirt freshman. He came in with Travion Henderson. His speed it's up there with Travion Henderson. I know last year Tony Alford said that he was the fastest running back in the room. I could see it now. I honestly could see it now. His jump cut ability is crazy. I've seen it a couple times. on Saturday. I think there's two guys in that backfield, in that room, that has home run ability with Travion Henderson and Evan Pryor, and then you got Mayan Williams, who can just smash the ball, big, low to the ground guy who can really bully a defense. And then you got another guy coming in with DeLon Hayden, a 4-star in this past recruiting cycle. And you got Marcus Crawley back there too as well. So embarrassment of riches for the Buckeye backfield. I really only think Travion Henderson and Mayan Williams will get most of the carries, but do not be surprised if Evan Pryor's out there getting carries, because it's going to be hard to keep him off the field as well. Some young receivers. I saw Jalen Ballard had a few catches. He had a very good spring according to coaches. Apparently he is one of the fastest receivers on the team. Another guy, G. Scott, was a wide receiver, came in with Julian Fleming and Jackson Smith-Njigba, transferred to tight end. If I recall, he had at least 5 catches, which maybe led the team in catches, which is incredible for him. He's put on a lot of weight, along with Joe Royer, who was a tight end in that same cycle. He had a touchdown grab from Kyle McCord, who also looked very good. And I think Kyle McCord, salute to him, had Quinn Ewers transfer out, had Jack Miller transfer out, and he's sticking it through. Salute to that kid. He's going to get his time eventually. Another guy, Devin Brown, the quarterback in this past recruiting cycle, showed a lot of promise. I think Kyle McCord is without a doubt the number 2 guy, but after CJ is gone, I think it's going to be an open competition. I don't think it's just going to be Kyle McCord's team. Devin Brown has a great arm. He's quick. He could get out the pocket. There's a couple times where he had pressure coming on his outside, and he stepped up in the pocket in a very good way. You just like to see that out of a young guy. He's got a whole off season left. You know, he's got even a whole season and next season too to develop. So I'll be looking for him to make somewhat of an impact. I think he will be good for the Buckeyes. It's gonna, like I said, it's gonna be an open competition between him and Kyle McCord. A couple other guys, Donovan Jackson. He was a left tackle. He has now moved to guard. I think we got kind of a sense for the Ohio State offensive line. You're replacing Thayer Mumford. You're replacing Nicholas Petit-Frere. Paris Johnson is moving over to left tackle. That is his original position. He was a very highly touted 5-star recruit when he came in. I think that'll be very good for him. Left guard, like I said, Donovan Jackson. Then you got Luke Whippler in the middle, one of the best centers in college football. You got Matt Jones, who moved in and out last year at that guard position whenever needed. And then you got DeJuan Jones, big DeJuan Jones, at right tackle. They say they got 6 guys that they really like right now. The younger guys are going to come along eventually, I think. But Keon Gray's had a couple catches, and Caleb Burton had a catch or 2. Those guys still getting groomed in there. I think they'll be all right, though. Brian Hartline is a wide receiver guru, so no worries about that at all. Emeka Egbuka looked really good, I think. He dropped a touchdown, honestly. He probably would have scored on it, but that's going to happen sometimes. Julian Fleming didn't get a lot of playing time. I guess he had a day-to-day injury. I think he'll be all right. Marvin Harrison, he didn't do too much either, but like I said, these guys, you're not really, when you watch the spring game, you know about these guys already. You want to see kind of the younger guys, what the future is going to look like, and I think a lot of the young kids for this Ohio State team played very well. And that being said, we're going to get into some recruiting stuff, because like I said, there was over 60 recruits in this recruiting 3 recruiting classes, 2023, 2024, and 2025, that visited Ohio State this weekend. So complete busy weekend for all the coaches and Ryan Day. The biggest recruit on campus this past weekend was Dylan Raiola. He is the number 1 player in the nation, number 1 quarterback in the nation for 2024. He is a 6'3", 225-pound, strong-arm quarterback. And what's interesting about this is he was really heavily favored at the USC, comes to Ohio State 2 weeks ago, and then he gets a crystal ball to Ohio State these couple days ago, and now he's back at Ohio State again, talking to Corey Dennis, the QB coach, and Justin Fields on the field. And then you also got the number 2 quarterback in the nation, Jayden Davis, who has had Ohio State on his radar since his last year. This is his second visit to Ohio State now, but having the top 2 quarterbacks in the class at Ohio State is huge. 4-star tight end Walker Lyons out of California. This is another guy that they really like. They want to add another guy like Ty Lockwood to this tight end core, because right now they are a little slim at tight end. I mentioned Joe Royer and G. Scott, but those guys are going to be gone eventually here soon. So Walker Lyons is a good vertical threat tight end out of California. They're really high on his radar. Mateo Ugalele, I probably pronounced that wrong every single time. His brother is DJ, the Clemson quarterback. He was there this past weekend. He is the cousin of JT Tuimoloau. He's a 5-star defensive end. Great size, great athleticism, comes from a football family. I think this could be huge for Ohio State if they get him. Nick Saban and Alabama are also in the mix for that one, so we'll see how that plays out. And then we have a commitment coming today at 2:30 p.m. announced by 4-star corner Dijon Johnson. He's the number 7 corner in the country. He got a crystal ball from Ohio State not too long ago. He was at Ohio State this past weekend, so all signs are kind of pointing to Ohio State here, and that's big for Ohio State. Their recruiting is really starting to heat up. This couple videos ago, I talked about some guys that were in Columbus for a huge recruiting weekend. One of them was Mark Fletcher, who just committed to Ohio State, a 4-star running back, and then also they just got Malik Hartford, the number 1 safety in Ohio, 4-star safety. He was there. Then they also got a 4-star safety with Cedric Hawkins, who was there this past weekend as well. So recruiting really starting to heat up for Ohio State. All in the same week, they got a crystal ball from the number 7 corner in the nation, and then they get a crystal ball from the number 1 player in the nation. And crystal ball you can only take to an extent, but most of the time they are pretty accurate. As of right now, Carnell Tate, wide receiver, that I talked about in a couple videos ago, the number 1 target for Brian Hartline and Ryan Day at that position, just received a crystal ball to Tennessee. So I'm going to speak on that a little bit. I think Carnell Tate is going to be a Buckeye. I think as of right now, Ohio State, he even said he feels like Ohio State's not really recruiting him. But like Jeremy Birmingham said, he has been here so many times, there's nothing left that Brian Hartline and Ryan Day can show him. They just got to stay consistent with that relationship, keep reaching out to him, keep getting after him. But big recruiting weekend for the Buckeyes. Like I said, 60 recruits there. The spring game, big environment. You get around 60,000 fans, which was the amount of people at the Ohio State spring game. Not a lot compared to the full capacity, but you get around that environment, you see what Ohio State's like. Spring game, you get to see a lot of the fans, interact with the fans, a lot of interaction with old Ohio State players, so it's big recruiting tool for Ohio State. So with that being said, Alabama just had their spring game as well. I'm going to watch that, take some look at it, let you guys know what I think. ESPN dropped their top 25 or top 10 poll, and I saw Alabama and Ohio State 1 and 2, which I can agree with. Probably will break that down in a couple days too, because there were some teams I don't agree with, but I like Ohio State and Alabama at 1 and 2 because I think those are the 2 most loaded rosters in football. Georgia also had their spring game on Saturdays too, so we're gonna get into that. So we got Bama, Georgia, Texas A&M still on the way. Got to make that one. With that being said, y'all have a nice day. Happy Easter. If you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel.